I'm working on my video for Monday morning, and I wanted to prep you for it because I think it might just be the most important video that I make, but I need to create some background so you understand where we're going. Where we're going in the long term, and I'm calling it wave three, is the digitalization, no, the monetization of compute. And the way I can explain that is what is the difference between you and Bill Gates and the deceased Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos? The difference is they understood and they mastered and they monetized compute. Okay, they have the ability to do things that you can't do because they've monetized compute. They've gathered data, they've used computers to digest and organize that data, and then they have created a business around that data driven by compute. Okay, that's what separates Mark Zuckerberg today from you and me. That's what separates Steve Jobs, or excuse me, um, um, Steve Cook from you and I of Apple. So the question becomes, how do we take advantage of what is going to happen in the future and participate in this monetization of compute? That is, giving us the ability to do what currently Amazon, Google, Apple, Meta are doing. How do we gain that power? Well, it's coming through artificial intelligence. But first, if you aren't a small businessman and you're saying, well, that won't include me. Yes, it will. If you see it coming and you understand it and you know where to invest, you can participate in the making of the next billionaires and thus become a millionaire yourself. What I'm going to do in the video I'm going to show you Monday is I'm going to start with what if you had what if I had talked to you about this in 2023? No. What if I had talked to you about this in 2003? And we sat down and we put our heads together and said, what are the four companies that are going to benefit most from this digital revolution? And we would have come up, hopefully, with Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. And what if I'll show you on a chart Monday, we had put $1,500 into each one of those: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. Every year, 1,500, which totals 6,000, which is what you're allowed to put into Roth IRA. What if you had done that? Okay, and what would have happened? Well, over those from 2004 to 2024, including Friday's account, you would have gotten an average return from Apple of 49%. You would have got an average return from Microsoft of 17%, Amazon 35%, and Google 24%, giving you an average return on the four of them of 24%. So over that 20 years at $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA, you would have invested $120,000. You would, and this is fact, you would have right now $4,104,610. That's what would have happened. Okay. And it'd have been, if it's in a Roth IRA, it's all tax-free income. So we know it can be done because we just went through, and I will show you these figures in the Monday video. We just went through the numbers to say, yes, it can be done. Okay. So my next question was, okay, it's 2024. If we go the next 20 years, do I want to be in Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google? Well, let's determine that. Well, how would you determine that, Kerry? Well, how I sought out to determine it was, first of all, look at what is going to change my life in the next years, 10, 20 years, and it's artificial intelligence, and it's generative artificial intelligence. And then from there, it's probably quantum computing. Okay. So who are the companies that are going to take us there? So what I did was go and look at the 40 companies that I track very closely. And I ask myself, what of those companies, the 40 companies, who has got the best return the past 5 and 10 years? Well, if I look at it in 10 years, Tesla got a 94% return. AEHR, yes, AEHR got a 87%, Advanced Micro Devices 68, NVIDIA 94, SMCI 58, and Modine, yes, Modine 41. That's a 10-year. Now, what if I bring that in even closer and say, okay, of the AI stocks, the semiconductor stocks that I follow, which ones got the best return over the last 5 years? Now we're looking and saying, okay, this is not so much about the digital revolution, but about the AI revolution, the last 5 years. And that would put on the top Tesla, 5-year average return of 173%. Number two is AEHR at 174%, 1% better than Tesla. Now, both of them have that high number because of some astronomical returns in some given years within the last 5 years. Okay. Number three is NVIDIA at 100. No, let me just go. We did we do AMD for the last 5 years is 35. NVIDIA for the last 5 years is 105. SMCI is for the last 5 years 130. CrowdStrike, yeah, CrowdStrike is 87. And we know that CrowdStrike just dropped, I believe it was something like 20% on Friday. We need to look at that really carefully. This could be a huge buying opportunity. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this live stream. This weekend, you and I need to study CrowdStrike and come to a conclusion as to what's going to happen to them next week and the following weeks, and what kind of lawsuits might they be facing, and how might that in fact affect their growth, and how might this blurb affect their future growth relative to, do people want to work with them, or do they get killed because of one mistake? That's a decision we have to make. Okay. And then at 84% for the last 5 years is Modine. Modine, you probably don't know if you have not been following in the past. We've been buying Modine for the last 2 years or year and a half, because they create the air conditioning systems that are going into the data centers that are cooling down Jensen, NVIDIA's very hot heat producing GPUs. So that's what's going on. What then happens after that is where you and I become the equals of Larry Page, and Sergey Brin and Jeff Bezos and the deceased Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. What do I mean by that? I mean the digitalization of compute. Again, what makes them different than us? Why are they billionaires and we're not? They have digitalized compute. They have gained control of all the data that you and I have collected over the last 40 years and monetized it. And they monetized it through compute. So when I go to Amazon's website, Amazon knows me. They know I've been there before. They know what I've bought in the past. They know it. They know everything I've looked at on Amazon for the last 20 years. They know what I've bought. That's an advantage. When you come to my website, I don't have that advantage. I don't know who you are. I can't go into your past and pull data out and say, well, this is what I need to say to Fred or Gladys. I don't have that ability, but I will. I will, as artificial intelligence gives me access to all the data that Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple have collected from me and you over the last 40 years, and I can gain access to it and then make decisions on it in my marketing to you. Who am I when I say to you? There are 33 million Americans in the United States who manage their own stock portfolios. 33 million. That's my TAM. That's my total addressable market. Okay. Amazon, Google, Apple, and Microsoft know everything about those 33 million people. If I can access it and then bring the compute and the AI to my website, I can compete with them. It's public domain. I can get to that data. I can compute it because I have gone to Dell and said, Dell, build me what you and Jensen called an AI factory. Here's what I want it to do. I have spent an hour on the phone with them and said, this is what I want it to do. I wanted to go and search everything about every one of the stocks that are in the stock market and give me their projections for their earnings for the next 4 years. Then compare that to their historical PE ratio and help me predict what the price of their stock's going to be in 2027. And then I can sort through that and then communicate to the 33 million people that are managing their portfolio that I can help you make more money. I can give you a look into the future by examining the data of the past and today. That's what I'm talking about. That's digitalizing compute. Now, what's going to happen in that is quite dynamic. And we'll talk about that on my Tuesday video because it's going to change the perspective tremendously. Because now, if I can talk to my customer through my computer, I don't need Facebook. I don't need Google ads. I don't need a Super Bowl commercial. If I can talk directly to you, I don't need them. So what happens to Apple, Microsoft, particularly Google and Meta, who make their money off of advertising, particularly the advertisers on TV. If my BMW dealer can talk directly to me, what does he need TV for? If he knows who I am, if he knows the mileage on my car, if he knows that it's paid off, what does he need TV for? This is the digitalization of compute. And if you can see it and you can understand it, you'll figure out with me who to invest in. How do we do that? We look at their performance in the last 5 years. That will give us the trends of who's moving to the top. Do I want my Roth IRA from 2024 to 2044 built around Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, or Google? Or do I want it built around Tesla, AEHR, AMD, NVIDIA, SMCI, CrowdStrike, and Modine? That's all. That's the decision as an investor I have to make. And now I've got the access to the data, and soon I'll have the access to the compute. And now Mark Zuckerberg and I will be on the same ground. It'll be a level playing field. And the beauty of it is I won't have to give away 80% of my company to get there. Okay. I got to make the video now. So look for it Monday morning at 7 a.m. I think I've stumbled on, and how did I come across this? I have a meeting every Friday on Zoom with my tribe. That's see that book back there, The Power of the Tribe. We talked about this. We shared ideas. We conversed about. We have other businessmen who are also contacting Dell and saying, I need a AI factory for mine because of what I've learned as to how it's going to affect my business. That's what we do. We are a community. I think of it of a church, a big church congregation of of people who believe in each other and collectively believe we can make better investment decisions if we put our heads together and learn from each other. That's what this tribe, that's what this best of us investors is all about. I want you to become a part of it. I want, and I'm willing to give you a free ticket in. And come to bestofusinvestors.com. Go down, you'll see we have a 14-day free trial, and you learn how to monetize compute. That's a word you never heard before. But as you start seeing it, remember who made it up. Monetization of compute. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, I've heard that before. Fine. I don't care. All right, I got to make a video.